Unhealthy relationship patterns. Did you push go live?
I did. We're live.
Hey, ladies. Everybody.
We can see we're total professionals at this.
Roar and roll, that's us.
This is our weekly podcast, and certainly around one call away and connecting with us and changing, the way you're doing things and the way you've been doing things. This is Sandra Lee with
Fiona May.
And today we're going to talk about breaking the cycle, ending unhealthy relationship patterns. You might be single and have already gone through a breakup. You might have had multiple relationships. So everyone's at different stages. But what is common in most relationships is some unhealthy patterns and unhealthy behaviors. And in some relationships, there's a whole lot more than others. So that's what we're going to unpack today. And we've got a few things to go through and share with you, and a few things that you can take away and put into your next relationship or your conscious thinking so that you can avoid that going forward as well. So, and have healthy boundaries. Here we go, Fiona.
So the interesting thing is, ladies, that many people don't even realize that they've got unhealthy relationship patterns and that they've got, unhealthy behaviors themselves, and their partners often have, personality traits and things that they're bringing to the relationship that, if we've grown up in an environment, we very often think that what we know, what we've experienced, what rules our family had, that is normal and that it's right because that's what we've seen, that's what we've grown up with. And so very often that by the time we work with ladies, they don't really even know any other way of doing life other than the way they've been doing. So there's no right and wrong in this. What we're coming to you with is, we can look outside of what we know. We can grow our emotional intelligence. We can be better people than what we've always been. And the way that we do that is through growth and through learning and through finding other ways of doing things, and then making conscious decisions as to how we're going to live our life, what decisions we're going to make, how we're going to show up, and who we're going to be. So that's what we want to bring to you today. So I'm going to share my screen, and because I made up these fabulous slides for you. And this is all new to us, to non-techie chickies. So you have a little bit patient with us.
Maybe forgiving.
Here we go. Look at this. Who said old girls can't learn new tricks? So like Sandra said, this series is called One Call Away from Changing Your Life. And this week we're going to talk about breaking the cycle, ending unhealthy relationship patterns. So Miss Sandra, if you want to take it away.
Ladies, welcome to this transformational journey. And the big thing is how we can grow and how we can shift ourselves, because if you're going to behave this, we get to here by our best thinking and our best knowledge and learning. And, if you want to have something different going forward, then that's that next step as well. And, you've got to, if you want to keep doing the same thing, you'll get the same results. So what are you going to do in your life and in your own behavior going out there in the world? Because that's what's going to come back to you. It's everything we do is a reflection, and everything that we get back is that mirror. So know that energy you're putting out there and the things that your walls you're putting up and other walls you're going to get back as well. So so I really can't read that, Fiona.
It really just says that breaking the patterns, and we hand down our patterns that we learnt in our childhood from generation to generation. So, we all had mums and dads, and our mums and dads did the best that they could. They taught us what they know. And as little kids, we saw their relationship. And for many of us, our modelling is always done on our caregivers, on our parents, and the people that we had around us. Now, between you and me, and this might not be your family, but it might be, most people have dysfunctional relationships. That's the real truth. In the statistics, there's 17% of the population say that they've got a nurturing and healthy relationship. And the vast majority fall into that 83% who have anywhere from satisfactory to non-existent relationships. So, you know, when you think of the whole population, 17% show up and say, my relationship's awesome. Then, you know, you were pretty lucky if you were born into that environment, and that's what you've modeled your, you know, reality off. But for most people, they have parents who, you know, you can love someone and care about them, but still the relationship can be toxic, and the level of toxicity varies, of course. So what this particular slide says is, you know, we need to explore our fears, we need to reflect on the past, we need to uncover our desires, and we need to grow if we want to create something better than we've had. So we're not saying our past is, you know, it is what it is, we can't change that, but what we can change is who we are now and how we show up in the world. And if you want to date, if you want to get into a new relationship, we really encourage you to work on yourself, to put yourself on a man band. Don't date until you've actually done your own healing work, because we can guarantee you that you've got blind spots. You don't see how, you know, some of your behaviors right now. You don't see the things that you put up with. You don't see the things you do. But when you start to do this work, it's like you're an onion. You peel the layers, you get back to your core, and you will discover some things about yourself you didn't know. And for you to attract and keep a healthy relationship, you've got to be showing up as a healthy individual, because even though you don't see it now, we can guarantee you that if you start to date people who you are attracting into your circle, they're going to meet you at the vibrational level that you're at. So if you're emotionally unhealthy or unfit, or, you know, have limited emotional intelligence, what is, again, 94% of the population is what we deem emotionally unhealthy. And that means they just have never been taught skills to be able to communicate and navigate conflict, to have healthy boundaries, you know, 94% of the population. So if you want to have a really happy and healthy relationship, it really helps to have some good communication skills under your belt. So that's where we start in the work that we actually do. So this is confronting our biggest fears. So Miss Sandra, can you see any of that?
I'll enlarge my screen. Here we go. So these are the biggest fears that come up for us all, and yeah, that's certainly, it's great to be able to have them here, so that you, if you aren't in the car and you're able to look at what we've got here on the live, it's so cool to be able to have that visual as well. So will I be alone forever? You know, some people think, and I did when I came out of my divorces, that I'm not going to get married again, not go down that same mistake or pathway again. And of course, time goes on and you get back into feeling a bit lonely, or maybe you want to have a relationship, but you're too scared to venture into it because you feel that you might end up in the same situation with someone else that's abusive or has an affair, or how can you trust again when you've been so betrayed, or you know, you feel like maybe you're too old, or you've got too much saggy skin or something. So we have all these self-belief patterns that go on that stop us from living that big life ahead, and our fulfilling life. So will I be alone forever? And that fear of being alone or never finding love again can be paralyzing. Remember, solitude can be a powerful tool for self-discovery and growth. So if you are in that space before you are in another relationship or ready for another relationship, use this time to create the space. And, you know, Dr. Seuss used to call it, you know, the waiting room. And, you know, you're there, you're just waiting until you're ready to take that next step. And I always say, if you don't know what to do, or you can't make a decision with something, then just don't. Just stay there until you've been able to get the healing and the learning and the tools to be able to take that next step forward. And then when you're ready, you'll be able to go forward with confidence, knowing that you're doing it intentionally and deliberately as well. So the vulnerability void, that's the fear of getting hurt again, and it can make you hesitate to open up. Embracing vulnerability is crucial for authentic connections. So the ability to know that being vulnerable is strong. And when we are at our most vulnerable, it is when we are at our most authentic. And, you know, I'm in a marriage with an 8-year relationship, and we plus. And we know that when we come together, we're at our place, we're heart-based, we're heart-centered, we come together with our hearts. He has his strengths and his masculinity, I have my femininity. We've understood all of these things, but coming together now, it's about coming from the heart. So when we do have a moment, when we do, everyone has their arguments or disagreements. I know it's from a healthy place, that it's going to end in a healthy way. We're going to have a disagreement. There's going to be no abuse. There's going to be no nastiness. There's going to be no, aggression. And it's just going to be frustration, or have our say and have it in a respectful way. And we heal at the end of it and come together and hug it out and make it up. Sometimes, it takes a bit longer than others, might take a few minutes or a few hours, but, it's not something that we're not being emotionally blackmailed in that space. So to get to here, we've both had to go through our own work, and both my husband and I have had to do our own healing and do our own way of progressing through things that have been both of our betrayals and lack of trust from other relationships in the past as well. So the fear of repeating the past, worrying about repeating past mistakes in new relationships is natural, and use these experiences as lessons and not limitations. And one of the mistakes I had in the past was I felt that I would be too much of a relationship pleaser or a people pleaser, and I wanted to just make it work and smooth over things, and I didn't want any confrontation, so I just would get on with making it right, and to the point that I ended up taking over all of the life tasks of a relationship and couple and children, to filling up the car before we go on holidays with fuel, to packing every bag, to buying every air ticket, to having it with me, to making sure. And I would just did so much in that way, because I knew that if something went wrong, that I would cop it. I would cop it in the, abuse or nastiness, and the whole holiday would go down the drain because, there'd be sour, sad faces, and not from my kids, but my ex. And certainly the ability to have things go in that direction downwards so quickly, and anger come up so quickly when something doesn't go perfectly right, that I started conditioning myself to just overthinking things, making sure I had every detail considered, stressing about everything the whole time, to the point that I was not even happy about going on holidays, because I knew how much extra effort, stress, and anxiety it was going to cause me. So it took me a while to understand that going on holidays should be a good thing, and a release and a relief and a joyful thing to celebrate and share the joy of it with the responsibilities of it. And it has taken me my own learnings to go through and healing to be able to get to that point. And trust issues. Struggling to trust or open up after divorce is common. Building trust starts with trusting yourself and your judgment to make good decisions. And this starts with your self-belief. You will only have the amount, or other people will only have self-belief and self-respect at a level of you that you have of yourself at least. So that means that if my self-belief is really low, then everyone else is below that. They're believing in me and my ability to show up and turn up even lower than what I'm thinking. So that's not a good place when you've got a low self-confidence and you think, well, how am I going to get out of here, right? Because I'm already in this hole. And it is through just little baby steps. It's one step at a time, putting back those building blocks, because you didn't lose your self-confidence overnight, ladies. You left it over years, and it got left behind in a trail that you can go back and you can rebuild it, and not only rebuild it how it was, but you can rebuild it in a stronger way. Rebuild, that house into a castle, so that you have got a lot of strength back in there that you never had, because you understand you've got good solid foundations and you've got a beautiful garden and the ability to be able to go forward completely different to what you had in the past, because you've rebuilt it in a way that is healthy, and you haven't got that old negative vibe and negative thought with you all the time, and things that trigger you setting you off as well. So it does maybe sound a bit fairy tale, but it's certainly practical, and it's believable and rational, and the ability to do it is in your hands.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, isn't it, ladies? So, when Sandra was reading out some of that stuff and sharing some of her personal experiences, You know, before, when I was talking about that we've all got unhealthy relationship behaviors and patterns, and, you know, we display them as well as our partners, that might have been a little bit confronting for some people, and it might have even been a little bit triggering. But listening to the way that Sandra put that about herself and her own life, does some of that resonate with you? Are you like the people pleaser? Are you the person who's running around on eggshells? Do you try and make everything all right and smooth things over so, you know, to avoid any conflict? Or are you like the person who's always the busy one, who's, you know, throws himself into their work and spends their time, you know, more than what they probably should, keeping himself busy, working hard, being the provider, making all the decisions? Like, all of those things are great too. And we only usually do what we have to do. It's not like we're getting up in the morning and thinking, what can I do to make my relationship challenging? You know, we're getting out of bed in the morning, we're thinking, what do I need to do? Who do I need to be to make my family as good as it can do, to help my kids to be the best person I can, to support my husband? You know, our whole lives most of the time have, you know, and the roles that we take on and our behavior patterns become a result of everything else that's going around us. And very often they're things that we can't control, but we're the ones who are trying to pull it all together and make it work. Does that resonate, ladies? Okay, let's have a look. So, you know, part of our growth and part of our journey and part of this discovery, going back and finding out who we are and finding all those lost parts of our soul, because we do lose ourselves in doing our work and being everything to everyone, being a good wife, being a good mum, being a good daughter, you know, looking after aging parents, trying to get through menopause and doing all those things ourselves, often have to go out and work and bring income in as well. You know, we're just all trying to survive, being the best person we can be. But through that, we lose parts of who we are. We give up dreaming. We forget, you know, what it is that we really want out of life. And very often, you know, midlife divorce, when we leave a relationship or someone leaves us, it does bring us to our knees. It gives us that opportunity to take the opportunity to have a look at who we actually are and where we go from here. Because for a lot of people, they're devastated. A lot of people carry a lot of pain. A lot of people can be angry and hurt and resentful for years and years and years. So the truth is that we need to heal. You know, we need to heal our hearts. We need to reconcile the damage that's been done, the hurt that's been done, the betrayal. Because if you don't heal, you hurt yourself. You know, you hurt yourself as you go forward. And if you're not healing, and you can, a lot of ladies we talk to, they sort of have this attitude that I'm not going to heal because he hasn't apologized, he hurt me, he had an affair, he left me. And it's like they think that them not healing subconsciously is punishing their husband. And ladies, I want to tell you, the only person you're hurting is yourself, because your husband's out there living his new life. He's got his new girlfriend in most cases. You know, he's out there with his mates. He's doing the things that he wants, and he's not giving you a second thought. And that's not because he didn't love you all the time that he was married, but things changed. And so you not healing is only hurting yourself. And we really want to drive that home to you, because we think this is the best time of our life. We've got the opportunity here and the possibility of creating beautiful new lives. And for you not to heal, you're only punishing yourself. And this goes on for 5, 10, 20 years. And before you know it, you know, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is our life. We get one opportunity. And, you know, if that's where you find yourself, if you've been spinning your wheels, and if you're still hurt and you're still angry and you're still sad, I want you to just sit with that tonight, spend some time reflecting and thinking, what am I doing here? What am I achieving? You know, if I'm wasting my time, I just need to, you know, be honest and true with myself. And I can't change the past, but I can absolutely change my future. And that's what we would love to encourage you to do.
One of the things that we see all the time is when the mum's not right, the kids are not right either. And how much pain mum not healing causes, and not intentionally, and it's not even sometimes able to be stopped, the pain, because you just don't know what to do with it and how to handle it or manage it. But certainly that ripple effect onto the kids, and they could be young or they could be adult kids. And we see as much pain in our adult kids as what we see it in our little ones. It doesn't make it easier what age it is when we separate. And I think in some cases it's harder seeing, the adult kids separating because they don't know what to do at that point, and they want to fix it and they want it to be back to where it was, or right. And so they're going through their own grieving and pain. So that even just magnifies your own, because you're seeing your babies hurt as well. So understanding that when you get you right, it does get the kids right, and it helps them, gives them the tools, and it gives them peace as well, that all is back well in the world, because their pain is coming from seeing you in pain as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, acknowledging your past faults and mistakes is, it's our work to do. It's our work that, and it's brave and it's vulnerable, but it's where your growth's going to come from. If you think that you're right and your ex is wrong and it's all his fault, you're just telling yourself that to get through and to try and legitimize it. And, a lot of people will say a lot of things, and what we do is we look for evidence, we look for the people that support us, we look for, the truth that makes us feel like, we're justified. But we always know that there's two sides to every story. It doesn't matter how thinly you slice that lemon, there is always two sides to the story. And, you've got to think, once upon a time you got married, you were in love, you were each other's supporters, and that deteriorated over time. And there was always two people in that relationship. So, the work we do, it's not about blame. There's no blaming, there's no guilt, there's no shame. We understand, we've seen this hundreds and hundreds of times, and we help you to walk through it and to heal from it. And then you can create your beautiful new life. But you do have to deal with some of these issues. So acknowledging your past faults and mistakes, taking responsibility for the part that you played, is the way that you get free. So one of the things you want to not do is overlook red flags. Ignoring the warning signs in past relationships often stems from a desire to make things work. This was what we were saying before, where, you just want to be the peacekeeper, get everything done, walk on the eggshells, cover other, the faults. But these are overlooking red flags. So you need to learn to trust your instincts and prioritize your well-being.
I think doing it early on helps too. Like, don't wait. Don't think, oh, that's a red flag, but we can work through that. Or that's a red flag. There's a reason for that. Like, a red flag is a red flag. It's a stop. It's a stop sign. If it's an orange flag, maybe that's something that's more about some personal insecurities that you think, okay, we can maybe work through that, because that's something that maybe with him or me doing counseling, or maybe us having the willingness to do it and to check in and to actually change things can make a big difference. So, red flag is a stop. So it means you've got to stop, pause, and just not go forward from that point until you've been able to overcome what those issues were, and understand and know that it's okay to do that. You don't have to take any guy coming along. This is your life ahead of you, that you've got the freedom and the choice, and doing the work on yourself gives you that self-belief and self-confidence that, ladies, you are amazing, and you are worthy of someone that is amazing as well. That magnificent man, we call them. And the ability to attract them is when you come from that place. And that's why Fiona was saying, that man band, we encourage women to do that while they're going through the courses and the learnings, because the man you attract at the end, when you've done and you're at that 5 emotional % in the world of EQ level, you will attract a different man to what you will at the start. And settling for less, that's that. We just keep thinking, well, no one else is going to come along. I know he's got no money, and he's got no job, and he's got young kids, or he's got all the things that we said we weren't going to go for, or he's really grumpy, or he's got a bit of a violent temper, or he gets jealous at times. I mean, there's lots of things in here that are flags. So accepting less than you deserve can be a pattern rooted in low self-esteem, recognize your wealth, your own worth, and set high standards for your relationships. You know, I got really clear. I created, for me, a vision of what I wanted in my man. And this was my minimum standard. And he had to have like integrity. And it wasn't so much that he had to have money, but he had to have a means. He had to have an ability to earn money, and he had to have an ability and a willingness to contribute and look after and respect money. He needed to have his own assets. He needed to have, you know, I didn't want to be looking after him. So we get to a point, ladies, that we might be in a relationship with someone that we've got more assets than them. So how are you going to communicate and have a healthy boundaries around what's yours and what's his, and what's going to work for you both? So there's no right or wrong here, but there certainly needs to be open, honest communication right up front. We were super clear up front, and you know, we went in with what we call a binding financial agreement, like a prenup, and that was while we were dating, not when we got married. And we were really super clear, you know, what was mine, and what was his. And then we had some stuff that was together, that we had, you know, shared bank account for going out and dating and things like that, or shared money for different things. But we were super clear what was and what wasn't. And, you know, the fact that we could have that respectful and open communication so early on set up the real ground foundational work for both of us being trusting and trustful in that. We weren't after each other for anything else other than love.
Yeah. What's really important, because when you're a smart, switched on woman, you know, very often we can do lots of stuff. We're great fixers. We can, you know, turn our hand at anything. But a lot of ladies then use that fixing, you know, to be able to fix their partner, to make things right. And I can't tell you how many ladies that we have worked with who have taken on debt for their new boyfriends, that they have mortgaged their houses, that they've lent them money, that they've, oh, you just wouldn't believe some of the things, bought them a truck or bought them, you know, whatever they've asked for. They've bought a property together and they didn't put their name on the title. Like, at the time, it all makes sense. But the truth is that, you know, when you've got to look after yourself at this time of your life, we're really big on, you know, you having the confidence and the self-love and the self-belief to look after yourself, to put in place, you know, rules and agreements to make sure that no one is going to be able to, you know, take your nest egg away from you, take your kids' inheritance away from you. And unfortunately, for a lot of ladies, like, honestly, I met some men when I started dating, and I've met some people in this last, you know, 10 years since I've been separated, that I didn't even know that, you know, walked this earth. Some really people that, you know, do things and say things, and, you know, con artists and you name it. And we are very often very naive. You know, when we've got a good heart and we come from a good place, very often we're taken advantage of, and people see us as an easy target. When you go through separation and divorce, you are very vulnerable. You know, you're at, like, you know, you're probably at your most challenged any time in your life. And so I want you to, you know, surround yourself with people that you can trust. Make sure that you working on yourself so you heal, so you can make good decisions, because nobody cares about your money more than you do, and you need to look after yourself. But you also don't want to be paralyzed in that fear. You want to know that I'm smart, I'm capable, I can go out there, I can look after myself, I can earn more finance, I can, you know, become financially secure, I can buy my own house, or I can pay off my mortgage. Like, we've had ladies do amazing things, ladies that had no money when they, you know, very often we see people walk away with nothing just for peace, or they've been cut out of, you know, wills, and or there's no, you know, they're not in the trust, they're not in the business, that their husbands had financially abused them and they didn't ask any questions, and they didn't, you know, take a role in the finances. But now, going through separation and divorce, they find themselves like, you know, just abandoned financially. And that can often lead to a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of frustration. But the truth is, wherever we are in our lives, You know, we've got to start from here, ladies. And, you know, we can't change the past, but we can change the future. So you getting emotionally strong is going to give you the ability to deal with all the other things in your life. So even if you can fix other people, you shouldn't take on the fixed mentality where you focus on other people. What you need to do is 100% focus on yourself and deal with the things you can control. You need to have some structure and a plan for your life, and then you need to be taking intelligent, smart action every single day. And that will be the thing that moves you in the direction of where you want to go.
Absolutely. And I went through 2 divorces and 2 financial settlements. And, you know, the first one at 35 with 2 kids, I was a single mum through that time. And then the second one when I was, you know, only in my 40s, so I was late 40s. And the ability, I'd lent money to my ex. He had an affair. He walked out of the business that, you know, I paid money to invest into, to build. And so I was left with this business that he wasn't even willing to work in after we'd been together 12 years. And so it's just all these are good intentions and ideas. And I was the fixer at the start. He didn't have a job. He'd left his, you know, business to come and live where I was. And so he was looking for something. So, you know, I thought this was a good idea to get his teeth into it, and he could get really, you know, focused, and he'd be really great and positive in it. And he hated it. He hated every bit of it. And in the end, it was only through understanding that I was the enabler in that, and actually gave it to him. So he was actually the one that in the end resented everything about me and the business. And to the point, you know, he said, "You just don't need me." And I said, well, I don't need you, but I love you. But understanding that men do need you to need them, and they do need you to love them, and they don't want you to come in there and fix everything for them. And I had, through what I'd done, which I thought was the right thing, and even he was wanting it, you know, through those years of me giving him things, was emasculating him. And it wasn't until much later that I really got that, and understanding that you've got to step back and let them fall over, pick themselves up, and show you that they can make it work, and not just keep going in there to, you're not their mother. And it's really important that we get to understand the difference between polarity, and the polarity difference between, you know, masculine and feminine, because that's what breaks down every other part of the relationship, including communication and, you know, conflict resolution skills, to the ability to be able to resolve things quickly and bounce back, and that resilience in your relationship that, yeah, we weren't happy about something and we disagreed, and we know something happened that we had a fight over, a verbal fight, but at the end of the day, we've both walked away and gone, well, this just is what it's going to be, and, you know, and move on, and know that, you know, either you're setting boundaries in place that they understand that that's not okay for that to happen again. But it's healthy conversation, healthy dialogue. It's respectful. It's not swearing. It's not. I can remember names that I was called through my first husband, and that I could tell you now an argument. I couldn't tell you what it was about, but I could tell you the names he called me, and I can remember even where I was when he said some things to me, and it just froze me in, and it's frozen in my mind. It's like we remember things like where Lady Diane was when she'd passed away, and, you know, where we're at. I remember situations of anger and violence and aggression as well. So, you know, this is something that it's really important that you create a space, an environment that you can have healthy conversations. We walk in the morning, my husband and I, and we go down to a waterway near where we live and take the dog, and we, you know, talk about stuff and what we're going to do, what came up, something that maybe wasn't great yesterday. And I try and, rather than get things to a point that they become a conflict, try and, you know, head them off early, so that we're both on the same page with things, so that we're not getting to that point that things blow up. They get to the point that they might have a fizzle, but then they just, well, we had that conversation, and you know where I stand, and, you know, and it's in the cool calm of day versus in the heat of the moment when, you know, everything's flying everywhere. Like the dogs.
Sorry, that's my sausage. Oh God.
They've got some communications that they just wanted to share as well.
Challenges.
Short man syndrome.
That's a real thing, ladies. So one of the other things is codependent tendencies. So the truth is, as much as we don't like to hear this, we do bond over our brokenness. So if we're not emotionally healthy ourselves, then we're going to bring people into our life, and we're going to partner up with someone who feels familiar and who works with us, with our personality and with our traits, and allows us to get away with the things that we do. That's how we bond over our brokenness. So the person you bring into your life and you end up falling in love with, you're actually a match for them at that stage as far as your level of consciousness. Now, that's scary when you think about it, because, you know, very often we have broken partners or we know broken people. And the thing is that someone might have that, but for you to want to be in a relationship with them, that means that you've got some brokenness, and your brokenness might be something that looks really admirable, like you might be a people pleaser or you might be a fixer, and you think, I can love that person enough that I'm going to fix them subconsciously. This isn't a normal conversation you're having, but it's a thought in your head, at the back of your head, because you will have some human needs that means that you have to be doing fixing work, helping work, pleasing work. And if you do that, then you feel loved. And that is an unhealthy behavior pattern, just like it is for someone to fly off the handle or get angry, or to be a controller or a dominator, or to not be, you know, responsible and take responsibility. So, you know, codependency is where two people come together and they're in a relationship that is meeting each other's needs. Now, the truth is, if we actually want a partner who is showing, like Sandra explained what she was looking for in her partner and what I wanted in my partner, then we have to also be at an emotionally healthy place. Paul,
don't yell at your fiance.
Cut it out. Where we meet each other. Where we meet each other and where we... Oh, baby, come here. Right. Oh, look.
He wants to be on the
Like,
live. Hey, Al.
Himself. Okay, now sit. I've got him. Right. So we do bond over our brokenness, ladies. Now, everyone always wants to have an amazing relationship. They want to have an amazing partner, but people can tell where you're at emotionally. And I just want to tell you a really quick story, because when I started to date, I didn't know any of this. And even though I had done a lot of, you know, psychology and personal development, family therapy, and I'd been studying, I hadn't actually road tested it. And so I hadn't put it to the test, but I started going out with this guy, and within 2 minutes, he started to really control me, and he started to chuck patties, and he was like, I can't believe that, you know, you disrespected me. You didn't wait up for me. You knew that I was coming home at this time. And I started to question, oh, I wonder if he's just being masculine, or if this is what a man with his own mind, you know, is like. And because I have had a people pleaser, and I've had someone, you know, my ex-husband just went along with everything. He never really had an opinion, and I dominated and controlled everything. I thought, well, maybe that's just what a masculine man is. And I started to go down this track. But slowly, this guy was, you know, grooming me, you know, and taking over my control, thinking, you know, I was starting to question my own, you know, compliance. And he was challenging me all the time, started to, you know, move me away from family and friends, and, you know, make other people in my life wrong. And, you know, it went on for about 3 weeks. And then I just thought, I don't like this. This is not healthy. And I don't have to ask another person for if I can do things and what I can do and where I can go. And you know, so I was wise enough to and strong enough and brave enough to say, this isn't working for me, and this isn't working, I'm not going to do this. And so I tried to put some boundaries in place and tried to say, this is what I want, this is what's acceptable to me, this is what's not. I'm not going to put up with this behavior. And he, again, threw some paddies and tried some manipulation and control. And so I was just like, well, this relationship's not going to work for me. And so it was as simple as that, if I chose to bring him into my life or not. But you have to be at a point that you can see those things. You have to be at a point that you believe that you are entitled to and worth better than that. And that is what emotional intelligence will give you. That shows you that, you don't have to put up with other people's poor behavior, and it's not your responsibility to take on projects and fix them. Now, when we're 20 and, when we were young and when we first fell in love, we didn't know any of this. So, very often we went with the first bloke who loved us and made us feel special, or was financially, gave us the security that we needed, or, wanted to have children and we wanted to have children, or whatever it was. We bonded, but we bonded with very often a person who wasn't whole and complete, and we weren't whole and complete. And so, it's no accident, I suppose, that our relationships get to where they get to. And very often we just run out of our tools and our skills to be able to navigate through things together. And, we start to pull apart. We look for our fulfillment elsewhere. Often women look for their children to fill them up. Often men throw themselves into their work or their sport or an affair, or, and that fills them up. And so life becomes an existence, but we drift apart. And that whole incompatibility thing that people say, we just drifted apart. No, you didn't drift apart. You stopped communicating. And so, that's what happens to a lot of people. But if you don't want that in your next relationship, that's where you can start doing some of this amazing work on yourself.
And I really love the fact, don't take on a project, Fiona. But girls, this is the big one that resonated with me, is don't be a project either. Don't be their project that they've got to come and rescue you, because as soon as you are still that project and you haven't done the healing, you've come together because you've needed healing, or you've attracted someone that wants to fix you. And that's what happened to me. I came out of my first marriage very broken, and my second husband came along and he was fixing me, and I did need him at that time, but I got my feet back on the ground and I was good after a bit, and suddenly didn't need him anymore and didn't need that emotional crutch that I did at the start. And that's when he felt like he didn't have the tools and I didn't have the tools to understand what I was doing either. So come together in your healthiness and your completeness. Don't come together in your brokenness as well.
Yeah.
And this,
So we've got to nurture our desire for healthy relationships. So this is exciting because, when we want to have healthy relationships, and this isn't just our intimate relationship, this is our relationship with our friends, with our family, with our kids, with our parents, and of course our spouse if we decide to get into another relationship. But we need to become emotionally healthy. How often do you know people in your circle that get offended at everything, or that they're very competitive, or they need to be the center of attention, or they're just a drama queen? All of those behaviors are what we deem emotionally unhealthy. And the thing is, when you do your work and you get yourself to a better place, a happier place, you don't want that drama in your life anymore. And so just like you don't want that in your drama as far as your friend circle, you don't want it in a relationship, because being in love with a magnificent man who's emotionally healthy is beautiful. It's a co-creative relationship. It's one where you're never having to look after, thinking that you're going to be attacked or ridiculed, or, a partner that says just, horrible things to you, or hurts you, or goes out of their way to make your life difficult. It's a person who actually shows up for you and has your back and, wants the best for you, supports you and loves you. And for you to have that, you've got to be able to give that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's not just the self-love and appreciation that you're born with. We lose it along the way, and certainly for different reasons. And, right through from the way we went to school and our schoolyard environment to our home and family environment to our work environment. And, Australians in particular aren't great at being, the tall poppies either, and putting ourselves up there and saying, I've done some pretty good things here. And I'm really proud of them. Like, to even acknowledge that out of your inside of your mind, and even in our mind, we don't always do it. So, we're taught to hold things back and to be humble and to not be too proud and not, was it fall comes before the pride, or pride comes after the fall? So, fall comes after the pride. But certainly we've got these sayings that just are like you're taught to be less than you are. And that's the opposite of way we want you to show up in your relationship, so that you can be each other's biggest hero and you can be your own biggest fan. So engage in activities that do bring you joy and fulfillment. The little things make a massive difference to your day-to-day. And establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries is crucial for fostering respect and mutual understanding in relationships. There's not just, a boundary, a healthy boundary. There's all sorts of boundaries, and we talk about many of them through our programs and courses, but collapse boundaries and, boundaries that, they're not even there. They've just fallen over completely. And ones that we just keep letting back up again and then putting back down again are not boundaries either, because, you've got to have things that you're really clear in how you communicate them up front. Everyone's got to be on the same page of what the repercussions are if they cross those boundaries. And you've got to be clear what you're putting boundaries around. Sometimes we can put boundaries around things, too many things, and be too difficult to love and too hard. And that flips us back into being that project. So that effective communication, mastering the art of communication, is essential to holding and building strong, lasting relationships. Focus on developing active listening skills. You're all listening tonight and today, just taking on board, not just listening and going, but take some notes, take some couple of 1 or 2 key things that you're going to take from this, that you're going to do 1% change with something, or you're going to put something in and test it and try it. You're going to give us a call. That's a change and connect with us. And remember, healthy communication is about understanding and connecting, not winning arguments or proving points. And, I heard this saying years ago, and it's something that stays with me. And it's, it's when you're in a relationship, it doesn't matter whether it's a loving one with your partner or whether it's a work one or one with your children. It's that not to compete, but to look at how you can complete. And I always look at how I can bring my awesomeness and my skill set and my value into a relationship, and how I can complete around things that they're not probably as detailed as I am, or not as, able to manage people as well as I am, or manage situations. And I look at how I can complete, not compete. And that's made a massive difference for me.
And, it makes her a beautiful person to work with. We have a great friendship because we have the intention of completing and working with each other and never competing. And, so all the skills that you learn in developing your own personality and becoming emotionally healthy and healed and, your best self, you take them into every single area of your life. And that's why our lives improve in every single area, because everything is first created. Everything that you do, every action you take, every belief you have, every emotion you feel, it's all first created in the mind. And so working on our mind is what changes everything for us. So we've all got an empowering journey ahead, ladies. This is the exciting bit, because, I think this is the perfect time of our life to really dive in and do this work. So, by self-reflection, by healing, by becoming empowered, that's going to give us our new beginning. And that new beginning is absolutely available and possible for anybody. I don't care where you are right here, right now. All you need to do is be open, be coachable, be committed, and be resourceful, and you can create your beautiful new life.
I was just thinking how awesome that lady looks. She's beautiful. She looks empowered and confident and comfortable. And
She looks sexy, but like for our age, she looks.
yeah, I do. Sassy, a bit of sassy. Girls, we need to get our sassy back. How do we do that? And how do we keep it? They're the tools that we need and tools that we've learned, and the ability for us to be able to go forward and know that, you know, it's there, that sassiness is there under all the onion layers, and it's about pulling it back and releasing it and using, you know, what is naturally and organically already in us to, be in our fulfilling life of ambition and excitement and love ahead, and know that we've got it there. We just got to work out how to use it and how to find it.
Because we are enough. You know, we are all one call away from breaking the cycle of ending our unhealthy relationship patterns. We can do this. We do deserve it. I believe it's our birthright. I believe that you've done everything you have up to this stage, trying to be the very best person you can be. And now this is your time to set yourself up for success. So, you know, if you believe, if what we've spoken about today, if it resonates with you, if you believe that it's your time and that you want some help and guidance to move forward, then take advantage of your one call away from changing your life. You can book a free call with us, and we'll have a chat to you, Sandra, me, or Cody, and we'll have a talk to you about where you're at, and we will help you map out your future. And then if you want to work with us, awesome, we can tell you what that will look like. And if it's not possible or you don't want to, then at least you will walk away with some clarity, and you'll know what the best next things for you are. Because at the end of the day, you know, we only want to work with people who want to help themselves, because that makes us feel awesome that we've contributed and helped other people. And, you know, it's added to your life. And that at the end of the day is what it's all about.
And, you know, personal development, it's a continuous journey, and it's like that shower. You've got to have at least one a day, and you need to have something good come in and good information come in this world that has so much negativity. We flip on the news, we hop in the car, turn on the radio, and there's so much that's happening environmentally around us at work or even in the family, and our memories and our things that we've held on to, our subconscious is holding on to all of negativity that's happened in the past as well. And it's just all comes up when, you know, something happens to us or something triggers us. So it's so important that we do the learning so that we can grow and know new strategies to handle those situations that come up, that are going to come up. You are going to be confronted with, you know, confrontation, or a wedding that you've got to show up to, or a kids thing, or a school thing, or a family thing. And, you know, you're going to be seeing people that you've seen in the past that haven't been great to you, or that you've got to deal with. And you've got to, and it's the only thing you can control is how you show up. And to show up proud and show up strong, show up confident and not be triggered, that's a pretty cool place to be. And that's where we want you to be as well. And it is more than possible. It's actually achievable. And it's just a process we take you through. And by going through the process, you complete and you actually progress forward, and you have the results that you desire.
So we'll sign off now, ladies. I hope you got something awesome out of that. Look us up if you want to. Women on Transition. I'm Fiona May and Sandra Lee, and we look forward to being of service to you in the future.
Yes, been committed to learning. See ya.